Everything has meaning. In a hidden valley nestled between mist-covered mountains, lived an old monk named Riku. His temple had no bells or gold, just a carpet of dry leaves and the steady sound of the wind. The villagers said Riku spoke to the trees and that the stones greeted him as he passed by. No one knew where he had come from, but his presence brought calm even to the most troubled hearts. One day, a young man named Sora arrived at the temple, his feet dusty and his heart full of questions. He had traveled long roads searching for meaning, trying to understand why his life seemed made up of losses and encounters without explanation. "Master," he said, bowing respectfully, "how can I know if what happens to me is part of a plan or just chance?" Riku said nothing. He simply pointed to a moss-covered rock jutting out from the ground, as if it had been waiting centuries for this very conversation. "Tomorrow," the monk finally said, "before dawn, sit beside that stone. Do nothing, just watch." The young man nodded, puzzled. He couldn't understand what a still stone could possibly teach him. But the next day, everything began to unfold. When Sora arrived at the temple at dawn, the mist still blanketed the valley in a soft gray veil. He sat down beside the rock, feeling its coldness through his clothes. He closed his eyes and tried not to think, but his mind was still full of questions and doubts. Minutes passed, then hours. Nothing seemed to change, but slowly he began to notice small details. The gentle murmur of a nearby stream, the song of a bird waking up, the scent of damp earth. Suddenly, a dry leaf floated down in front of him, carried by the breeze. Sora opened his eyes and watched as the leaf spun slowly through the air, finally settling gently on the stone. In that moment, he realized the leaf hadn't fallen by chance. It had followed an invisible path to that exact spot, right where he could see it. His heart began to beat stronger. Sora remained silent, letting that simple leaf speak to him in a language he had never heard before. The old monk Riku appeared beside him, wearing a serene smile. "Do you see, young Sora?" the monk said. "Just like that leaf, every moment in life follows a path we don't always understand. But it's never by chance. Nothing is random. It's all a chain of causes and effects woven together." Sora looked at the master with clearer eyes but still asked, "And what happens when everything seems to go wrong? When the path feels broken?" Riku picked up a small stone and dropped it into the nearby stream. Ripples spread out, merging with others as they slowly touched the shore. Even those ripples that seem confusing have their purpose. Sometimes what feels like an obstacle is just an unexpected turn on the road that leads to a wiser destiny. The young man pondered the teaching, feeling something inside him begin to calm. Days passed, and Sora stayed at the temple, learning to observe without judgment and to listen without expecting immediate answers. He began to notice how every encounter, every word, every silence held a deeper meaning, even if he didn't understand it at the moment. One afternoon, while walking through the nearby forest, he found a little girl crying at the base of a tree. Without hesitation, he approached and asked what was wrong. "I lost my necklace," she sobbed. "It was a gift from my mother." Sora sat beside her and said, "Sometimes losing something makes space for something new. Let me help you find it." Together they searched, and soon enough, the necklace appeared among the roots of the tree. The girl smiled, and with that smile, Sora felt a warm light spreading through his chest. He realized his arrival to the valley was no accident, nor was the encounter with that little girl. Days went by, and Sora stayed at the temple, learning to observe without judgment and to listen without expecting immediate answers. He began to notice how every meeting, every word, every silence carried a deep meaning, even if he didn't understand it right away. One afternoon, while walking through the nearby forest, he came across a little girl crying at the base of a tree. Without hesitation, he approached and asked what had happened. "I lost my necklace," she sobbed. "It was a gift from my mother." Sora sat down beside her and said, "Sometimes losing something creates space to receive something new. Let me help you find it." Together they searched, and before long, the necklace appeared tangled in the tree's roots. The girl smiled, and with that smile, Sora felt a warm light spreading through his chest. He understood that his arrival in the valley wasn't by chance, nor was his encounter with that little girl. That night, returning to the temple, Sora asked Riku, "Master, if nothing is by chance, does that mean everything is predestined? Don't we have the freedom to choose?" Riku sat down facing him and replied in a gentle voice, "Life isn't a rigid chain, but a flowing river. The current carries the water, but stones and branches shape its course. So, while the river has a direction, every step you take influences the journey. Freedom," he continued, "is not about changing destiny, but how you walk the path. Accepting that every event has a purpose frees you from the burden of uncertainty." Sora closed his eyes and took a deep breath. For the first time, he felt he could let go of the need to control everything. The next day, as the sun rose through the trees, Sora decided to explore the forest with a new mindset. No expectations, just openness to whatever the moment might bring. He walked without hurry, letting his steps follow the rhythm of the wind and the sounds around him. In a clearing, he found an old crow caught in a net. Without hesitation, he carefully freed the bird and watched it soar into the sky. In that moment, he understood the encounter wasn't by chance, but a reminder that in life, even when everything seems trapped, there is always a chance for freedom. Sora smiled, feeling that, little by little, his path was lighting up with the certainty that nothing happens without a reason. On the last morning before leaving, Sora sat by the same rock from his first day. He gazed out over the valley as the mist slowly lifted beneath the rising sun and felt a deep peace within. Riku approached and said, "Remember, Sora, life isn't about controlling every moment, but about understanding that nothing happens by chance. Every step, every encounter, every challenge is a teacher in disguise." Sora smiled and replied, "Now I know my path is full of purpose, even if I don't always see it clearly." With a light heart, he set off back into the world, carrying with him the certainty that, in life's eternal flow, nothing is by chance. Final reflection: everything has meaning. On the journey of life, every experience, no matter how small or uncertain, holds a hidden purpose. Sometimes the meaning reveals itself in the moment. Other times, it unfolds with patience and time. Learning to trust this invisible flow frees us from the weight of anxiety and invites us to walk with calm and openness, ready to receive the mystery and the lesson each moment offers. Everything has meaning. Everything is an invitation to grow, to let go, and to find peace in the present.